What's up, everybody? It's the Hardy Construction. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Find our even saucier videos on MyFans and OnlyFans with your hosts Komp and
Adult Friend Finder,
as well as
Dual Action.
Thea's new novel, This Director Blows. The home videos of Victor Salva can be bought on Amazon.com.
literally blows.
Today's film is
Verotika 2019. I'm making it sound way cooler than it is.
Verotika 2019. Glenn Danzig's directorial debut is a horror anthology that compiles stories from Danzig's line of comic books of the same name. Oh, brother, this is one of those summaries that goes off. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Stories.
He probably wrote it, right?
Stories which focus on horror content that's often sexual and violent in nature, usually featuring scantily clad female protagonists. And to that I say, bravo! Would you like some bread and to read what to say?
That's the only song I know, actually.
He has another really good song, but I'll get back to that later. Anyway, so this film, Verotika, I remember I heard rumblings about this.
Good choice.
Five or so months ago, when the world is normal, and I read it online. They were like,
and for those listening in the future, maybe you found like the rubble and found this in the archives of history.
Can you imagine if this outlives
the great
us?
quarantine of 2020? This will make history. This will be in like a museum.
Yeah.
I'm sure all of our embarrassing shit will outlive. Believe us, it will. You're gonna see
I could die this week.
Some future, God forbid, some future alien race listens to this and they're like, Laxnor, Sneeblenork, and they just like throw it in the trash. Space trash.
In their space trash.
I heard about this a while back. I remember reading reviews saying it was so awful, so terrible. And I was like,
oh, the reviews say that. Okay.
And you said it's perfect for us then.
This is
yes.
Yeah, exactly.
See, the thing that people get confused about this podcast is that this isn't about reviewing films. It's about making all of us suffer.
It's about physically hurting ourselves.
It's about seeing how much we can.
We're suffering as much as you're suffering listening to us.
Seeing how much we can demoralize ourselves in an even more heinous actual reality. So it's like a triple.
My whole
going on.
My whole week, this was the highlight because I've literally been stuck in a room playing the same video game endlessly. I'm unemployed. Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, you can spend.
That's a good place to get away.
No, it's a good game, but my God, I can't fight any more of these Spider Guardian guys. Like, I'm just going crazy.
Trust me, in about 10 years, you're probably going to actually fight Spider Guardians. Who knows?
That's true. That's coming. That's coming.
Just like the guy in this movie.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Boy, yeah. I almost forgot that was part of this movie.
It's the first one, guys.
I had serene bliss for a moment until people reminded me what this movie was
let's get started.
Come back into
Okay,
hell with me.
This is the first thing I started with today. I woke up at 7 for no reason, and I just turned it on, and immediately it was like eye boobs, and I'm like, what am I looking at?
Watching this at 7 o'clock in the morning is even more of a nightmare than just regular watching it.
I was like cooking my breakfast and watching it at the same time. Like, what the hell is this?
Because like this is a movie where you watch it and you go, is this actually a film or am I still reeling from the reality of what's going on? And I'm hallucinating this at the moment.
Am I in
did I watch too much
the hallucination
porn
stage of Corona?
Have I stayed in home for so long that I'm picturing this reality? Because this can't be for real. Anyway.
Did they put something fancy in my respirator?
So just to
you can't
get back into it.
Don't be crazy.
Verotika is a film which is directed and written by Glenn Danzig. He was a rock star for a while. He's
from the Misfits, right?
I like that star.
He was in the band The Misfits until they had a falling out and he left the band, and then he went on to a pretty good solo career. I think 2 real big hits he had.
I've always wanted to check out Misfits. All I know of them is the weird hair.
All I know about them is that skeleton logo, which is like really good.
I know that logo too, actually.
I know a lot of white girls wear t-shirts and don't know who they are.
Yes, that's true. So, anyway, so Glenn Danzig, he's I will say this about him because I was like, oh, this is terrible, this is terrible, this is terrible. I just kept saying it through my mind, and then I was like, I was going through online like reviews of Verotica just to see I wasn't the only one that felt this way about this film. And one of them was actually a screening for Verotica, and it had a lot of people going to see, a lot of his fans, and they ate it up. And this is where I have to humanize Glenn Danzig a little bit for myself, and I got to temper it. I did that with Tales from the Quintet Zone. With this one, he was like, signing everybody's posters. He stayed after the movie. He was like talking to everybody. And then he was like, "Oh, I just wanted to make a movie, that my friends would like." And I was like, "What kind of friends are these?"
What kind of mind would be friends with such a?
His friends are like those guys that sit around in like a man cave and watch porn together. I feel like,
Yeah, probably. They were the people in that particular movie where they were with the eye boob girl.
And
I feel like that's 90% of what these people watch.
And they all jerk off at the same time in the couch, but they angle themselves just a little bit away from each other, so it's not gay.
And they don't make eye contact. Yeah. They don't make eye contact.
Anyway, so he had a comic. He's a big fan of obviously a lot of horror films and comic books and stuff like this. Whether he took away anything from that, no, 0. I don't think so.
Well, I like what he's going for. He's just not getting it.
So
no, like if he went for it and he did it correctly, this like a very specific feeling. The third movie kind of gets it.
It reminded me of Faust, Love of the Damned, but not.
Yeah, like that movie is terrible too, but that gets it a little more.
Don't you dare insult Faust, Love of the Damned.
But that's what I mean. It's like that movie.
I think that was the movie that brought you to us, Thea, in the first place.
It is the movie that brought.
That is like one of the most particularly horrible yet amazing movies ever.
So Danzig had an actual comic book imprint he had for a while. I think he still does. It's under Verotic Press. There's no A to it. It's just Verotic, and he did a whole bunch of comic books. He had a character. He was a very big fan of this comic book Japanese manga called Devilman, which is a series that I hope from Netflix that I hope me and Thea cover. We did a few
movies of that.
Yeah, we did. He released an American printing of that comic book, and he had a main character that he actually, because Devilman has a very particular look. He has his horns are like bat wings, and he ended up adapting it for one of his main characters, and he had a comic book called Verotica, which is like, as a teenage kid, you pick this up at a comic book store because they're too stupid to realize what they're selling you. And it's very titillating, and it's like sexual.
It felt like a teenager wrote it because there's the name of the spider is the neck breaker or something. Like that's what the cop calls them. That's the cop calls them that. That's the name that the media gives to the serial killer breaking people's necks.
Name.
We'll get to that, but my favorite part of that video is when clearly they hired no French people to play French characters. Hold on, and the waiter goes, "This is the neck breaker," and I was like, "Oh boy."
It was so bad.
So two of Danzig's songs is obviously Mother, and then he had a song called Can't Speak that's really good. So those are two songs I would say check them out. Anyway, so he had this comic book for a while. I think it obviously must have went under because I haven't been into a comic book store in a while. But he did have these anthology books, and I had actually one issue. I might still have it. He had a comic book. A lot of his stuff was about...
By the end of this, he's going to be rating this a 10 out of 10.
Oh, if it was a negative, yes. But he had a comic book like Jaguar God, Death Dealer. That was clearly stuff about Frank Frazetta, if you know who Frank Frazetta is. He based books based on... His stuff was like a facsimile of everybody else's like really cool artwork. Anyway, I remember specifically reading one of his anthology comic books, and it was like this hot girl... She's running around and she has a baby with her, and a cop is making her blow him, and then like she's like, "Oh,
bad cop."
He ends up, killing the baby, but it's actually the girl's mentally ill, and he broke a doll, and then he lifted up her skirt, and he's like, "You can't have a baby because
my head is listening to this description."
Hold on, and the lady had a penis, so she was clearly a transgendered woman who was cross-dressing or however you say it as a prostitute, and she ends up killing the guy. So it's that sort of gritty, sort of dark.
It's very try-hard.
Yeah, it's very, very much that. Anyway, so I don't know why I took that. That's at least 20 or plus years old.
I did like the graphics of the eye nipples.
Okay, so let's just get into it. So Verotica is this film. Thea, how does Verotica begin? And I mean from the very beginning. How does this movie begin?
It begins with a woman who's chained up on a wall, and she's like screaming bloody murder, and then a witch comes up and she's like, "I'm gonna poke your eyes right the fuck out," and then she has her eyeballs.
Is it a witch or is it a girl who walked out of Hot Topic? I don't know.
It's
It's a combo.
It's a porn star who walked out of Hot Topic.
She is hot.
But I believe they're actually all pornographic actors.
I looked it up because I was like, that name is a porn name, and it was.
Oh, it was? Okay.
I will say I felt pathetic.
Sure, you didn't know. Sure.
I felt pathetic because I actually recognized a woman in one of the background. A woman that just walks for 5 seconds in the background. I was like, hey, I know that lady. Then I was like, oh, I'm so sad for knowing who that is.
Oh God, I know why.
So they're all porn stars. You know what? I'm happy to say I don't know any of them.
So what is the name of the main girl?
I don't believe in
Morella.
So Morella pokes this woman's eyes out, and the woman who gets her eyes poked out. There's 2 women in this movie.
It was good graphics. I gotta say.
There's 2 women in this movie that have unbelievable acting scenes, and Thea, I definitely know who the other one is. Everybody has to know who that second lady is.
You have to.
But the first lady, she gets her eyes poked out, and she pulls a Nicolas Cage level of the bees. She goes, "My eyes, my eyes," and she's screaming and stuff. Oh, it's Caden Cross. That's another pornographic actor.
Okay.
She's playing Morella.
Doesn't that sound like a porn name?
which is shocking because she breaks the 4th wall and she says
immediately.
She goes, "I'm Morella, and this is Verotica." And I was like, "What just happened?" Like I was like, "Why'd she talk to the camera for?" You would think
that was the moment you knew you were in for trouble.
And the thing is, I've only seen that once in another movie, which was Tales from the Crypt with the Crypt Keeper. But hey,
but he always breaks the 4th wall.
Right, you're used to the Crypt Keeper doing it.
His voice went right.
Anyway, so she pokes the girl's eyes out, and there's no sort of. It just cuts to opening credits with these weird CG sort of pre-rendered graphics, and they make no sense, and it takes a long time. Yeah. And Thea, lead us into this first story, because Morella doesn't come back until later.
Talk about that amazing spider.
Yes, Thea, what is this first story?
I'm stealing people's synopses because this was truly insane. The first segment, set in Paris, tells the story of a woman with eyeballs for nipples who conjures a giant murderous albino man spider every time she falls asleep.
The albino spider of Dajet.
That's the one.
I was looking at it going...
It's kind of a cool concept.
No, what? Get the hell out of here.
The concept is cool. It just wasn't executed good.
He's saying, I'm going to give this movie a 10. Sounds like that's a fucking 12.
No, I'm saying that the general concept is cool, but it was executed awful. You fucking must
have ate shrooms when you saw this shit.
No, I understand what you mean. The core idea of, like, a woman who falls asleep and, like, some kind of demon or whatever he is supposed to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Kills
like a vague idea.
On her behalf, theoretically.
The way they did it was absurd.
What's super weird about this film, and sorry, Thea, because I knew I did not expect an aspect to come, though I should have expected an aspect to come.
I knew that. I knew what I was in for.
Oh, but it comes with a caveat. Anyway, so Ashley Wisdom plays Dajet. Okay, everybody in the scene is supposed to be French, and it takes place in France. Because I was like, okay.
They all speak English, though.
Yeah, that's true. That's
with bad French accents.
They love America. They love our burgers. Anyway, so Ashley Wisdom plays Dajet. Ashley Wisdom's face looks like something out of a Richard Corbin book. Like, I don't know if you Richard Corbin is this graphic novelist. And they have very sharp, defined features. And she looks like almost like she's not a real person because her face is so cartoonishly sort of.
Because she has like 800 pounds of Botox.
It could be. Yeah. It could be.
It is.
Yeah, her lips are like 4 times the size of.
I was checking to see if she was a porn star, but not. But she does go full frontal nude for some show with Phoebe from Friends. So you can look that up.
Oh, okay.
Anyway.
Wow.
So she is this French girl named Dajet. It starts out with her committing oral antics on this guy. I would figure,
I like that word for it. Antics.
If you're already blowing someone, and then I was like, this is gonna turn into a rape, even though she was blowing him. But I understand people can have, limits. They don't want to do this. They want to do something.
She said no.
Well,
no at any point.
The only reason she was upset was because she didn't want him to see her eye boobs.
Right.
Definitely.
You can respect someone who's blowing you you can thank him for the blow and be like, okay, I'm done.
And that's where
this guy wanted to see some big malongers, and he got a very big surprise.
He wouldn't take no.
She has eyeballs.
He saw them and they saw him.
Oh boy.
He stopped me. That's how shocking that statement was, because it was true. She has eyeballs for nipples, and what
there
that
was
means,
no explanation.
And here's the thing, and then also
It never explained it.
while this is going on, there's one of the worst CGI spiders I've ever seen in a film. You could put a string on a spider and lift it up like a toy spider. This looked like it was the beginning of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movie. You know, the opening credits were supposed to look fake. It's like a white spider going up, and then she starts crying, and then her friend with a gigantic wig, that big giant blonde wig, walks in. She goes, "What's this going on?" You know, and she's like, "Oh, upset because you know what I understand is like why? Do you know how many? There's like really interesting ways you can alter your breasts in life. Like I've seen women where I don't know how they do it, and it's not my thing, but they can take their nipples and sort of tattoo heart nipples.
Oh, I've seen that.
I don't know how that is. Like, are they using a flesh from their elbow or something so it has nipple consistency? Do you know what I mean? I'm not making this up. I've seen it, and it disturbs
Nipple
me.
consistency is my
Sure you have.
Like, anyway, she could have done that, or maybe she was obviously. I mean, a doctor must have seen she had eyes on the tits and helped her out. You know.
Someone saw her that, but what they never,
she has clearly fucking fake
did
tits.
I miss it, or did they not explain it?
They don't explain it.
There was no explanation.
There is zero explanation.
So Thea,
it's just like an inexplicable.
She's like a mutant or something.
That's her special. That's her special. You could blindfold and she'll just lift up her top and see everything anyway. So Thea, what happens after she starts falling asleep?
So she falls asleep, and then the spider comes in and like holds her face and is like, "Great, thanks, bye."
No,
and
you're missing a gigantic.
Oh, what did I miss?
The tears from her eyeball nipples fall on the
I missed them, but I read about them.
and changed its DNA into a giant Spider-Man with two working
Is that
arms.
what happened? I didn't understand.
That's what happened?
Yeah, that's what made it change in the DNA.
Like,
I
who
missed
thinks
that
of
whole
this? This is
thing.
like what Cartman thinks of.
And I feel bad for the spider because he has 2 working arms and 4 disabled arms. Because they just sort of stand in place. And I'm like, he could have at least got, like, one of those things, a lanyard he could put in his car.
Okay, but my favorite part is later when you can visibly see the bottom of his costume, and there's just a big gaping hole where his dick is supposed to be.
I think
in the
that was just
costume.
that might have been just so you can use the bathroom, I guess, and they just didn't give a shit. Anyway, what the gist of this is? Whenever listen, first of all, we get into the gist of this. Thea, let's talk about the visual competency of this film. Like, what do you think about this DP work and this camera work and what's going on in this movie?
I don't even know. It has like obvious B-movie language. Like it doesn't look terrible in terms of like the actual I don't know.
Are you sure?
I don't know. It looks better than
I thought the third movie looked okay.
Yeah, the third one. I think this movie backwards.
I mean, it would just like there'd be like a shot of someone's face, and it would just like linger on it for no reason. And
that's not what I'm saying. The
thing.
Directing is weird. Like
there's
the directing is like staying on people for way too fucking long, and like getting weird shots and choosing to stay on those forever. But like
there's a lot of zooming in and zooming out in one scene.
Yeah.
So it'll completely zoom in on somebody and then pull back out, and you're like, why is this scene still going on? Because I felt this when I saw it, but then I had saw in some other reviews where they were like, it seems like the scene would end, and they didn't tell the actors that, and they're just sort of standing there waiting for the scene to be like cut. You know what I mean? But anyway, this giant white albino Spider-Man comes out, and I will say this: I like the look of his character. Spider with French accent, okay, because they're in France, I get that, but I mean,
English with French accent, exactly how it is in France.
This is astonishing. It's unbelievable what kind of movie this is. Like, I mean, we've seen some pretty bad movies. Like we said, Tales from the Closet is pretty bad, and it still is.
This is definitely better than that. Come on.
People compared this to like a horror version of The Room, which
That's what they
is not.
say.
is not far from the truth, I guess. I found the room
But
funnier.
I think that I've only seen parts of the room.
Like, as far as rock and roll people making movies...
You haven't seen the whole you haven't seen the whole movie The Room.
Like,
No,
we've got
not.
Rob Zombie, Dee Snider, and Glenn
should.
Danzig, and I would say that that's the order. It's Rob Zombie's the best, Dee Snider's second best, and this is the worst.
But the thing is, Dee Snider didn't direct that movie, though. I think it was somebody else.
I mean, that's a decent movie. It's just absurd, you know, but this is just like...
Strangeline's great, man. Shit, I love that.
Yeah, no, I love it too, in like a terrible way, but this is like...
But technically,
this is something else.
Oh, no, this is horrible. I mean, but technically, like, just filmmaking-wise, how, like...
yeah, that's a real movie, yeah.
I don't understand. I don't get... You know, somebody edited this movie. You know,
I don't
somebody
understand why she just inexplicably has eyeball boobs, and I never explain it.
You know that every single, like, editing, directing, shot, whatever choice, I can tell it's all coming from the brain of one stupid weirdo.
Yeah.
It's all Glenn Danzig. Like, there's nothing else in this movie that somebody else was like, I did this.
I mean, can we discuss what this...
She nailed it, though. Like, you could tell he's stupid.
Yeah.
Can we discuss this albino Spider-Man? Because he...
Yeah.
His look is sort of interesting but cheap in a way. His arms, obviously, the lower four arms are like frozen in fists.
Unless they have the one shot where it's like they obviously had a couple other people just like moving their arms.
Maybe they're in fists because he's so angry.
And Danzig loves shooting people going up the staircase, because there was 3 shots of a woman going up a flight of stairs, and it was going up each layer, and I was like, what was the point of that? So instead of her id, which comes out is it the id, right, that comes out as the Spider-Man, Spider Monster, why did it kill her roommate instead of killing that guy that was
the guy? Yeah,
I mean, what is her issue that she would have women die?
I mean, I think you're looking into it a little too much.
Yeah, the reason that he has women die is because he wants to see women get like raped and killed.
Yeah,
that's the
I don't
whole
think there's
movie.
any thought to it. I think it's just like generic, nonsense.
There's a scene where like he's behind her, and after her friend gets killed and he's holding her, and there's this big weird sort of giallo effect of a spider web in the background, and they're in like this green lighting, and he's like, I want to do this and do that, and then like he has 2 of his hands on her face, and then they hired another very lucky actor to fondile her breasts, and it goes on for longer and long, and you're like, what is going on? Then there's this one alleyway with prostitutes. This is where I'm watching it right now as I talk to you guys, and I just recognize one of the girls. Anyway, and then there's like the scene where this hooker is like, her specialty is anal sex, and she's talking to this clearly a weirdo off camera who's the Spider-Man monster.
Yeah.
And then he breaks her neck, and it's just like.
But he's standing out in like it looks like it's just like a broad daylight.
Yeah.
I don't think that's how prostitution works in alleys. Like, you don't do it in the middle of the day.
Maybe different in
Paris.
France.
I don't think so. No. Like
another weird thing is that when she's getting attacked, the chick who gets her neck broken. I'm watching it as I speak to you guys. She's getting her neck broken in the alleyway. His other hands, which should be reaching for her, are clearly coming from another direction and not his body. Like, they didn't even try. Like, it's hands coming from forward.
Listen, he's a supernatural being.
Come on.
Thank you. That explains. So then it cuts to a photo shoot where, listen, I don't care. That one chick, the one that was next to the one with the mask. That one chick that they focused on her. She's smoking hot. I don't know who the fuck she was. I'd watch her movie. Let's see who she is.
She probably has a movie. I'm sure she has like at least 30.
So she starts freaking out, and all the girls are trying to, tell her to do her job. And this is one of those things that blatantly the director did not know what to cut, because 2 of the girls walk off. 2 girls stand in the background.
It there for like a minute.
There's 2 girls. There's nobody taking photos because this girl's obviously depressed, and one girl came to her aid and is helping her. There's 2 girls. One girl that looks like the chick from Reanimator. That Barbara Crampton.
Barbara Crampton.
Younger, and another girl in a PVC like bodysuit, latex suit or something like that. And then they're like standing in back. They have nothing to do, and they just start voguing in the background. And I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
Did people not know that she has eyeball nipples like the other people?
I know, as a fetish model, that's got to be difficult to hide those nipples.
How do you hide them? Do you think she puts like contacts on them and stuff? Like flesh colored. She puts like nipple shaped contact lenses on them to look like she has nipples.
Big titty eye patches on them.
Big titty eye patches.
But there's also one thing. There's a news report that's happening. It blew my mind because I think Glenn Danzig was making a reference to another French film. Because the guy doing the news is a French guy speaking in English for Channel 52. There's a movie called Les Samouraïs that's like, it's a big French movie with this guy who's wearing a yellow trench coat and a hat. And this guy's dressed like that character. And I think Glenn Danzig did that to say, hey, look, see, I know my movies. But it's astonishing how horrible this... I mean, it's just like so incompetent on a level like I can't believe. Like, this is why I don't even have a problem with Tales from the Quadet Zone compared to this. Like,
no, Tales from the Quadet Zone is...
I don't want to listen.
Even,
I'm not saying
put it in the words. Like,
I'm not even saying Tales is a better film than this. Because you can see that's
not.
It's not. Clearly, it's not. But this is a person who had they say it's $1 million budget. I heard from one of the other reviews, and you're like, yeah, I know. And you're like, you know how much you can do with $1 million budgets. All Glenn Danzig, he could have had somebody help his writing. And this film, this is the second film, Danny, where we saw what was the other one? Under the Skin, where like a rapist
I like that
saves.
movie.
Yeah, I know, that was a great movie. But I'm saying a rapist saves the day inadvertently for some reason, because I got very worried watching this scene, and Thea has an issue with rape in film, and I completely understand because it's very demoralizing. She goes to a porn theater, and she's like, "Oh, these people are making love," and then she falls asleep in the porn theater, and it cuts to this guy trying to sexually assault a Spider-Man monster. He's trying to rape
sexually
this woman.
assaulting her.
Okay, I wasn't sure. So he's trying to kill her and sexually assault her, excuse me. And it cuts back to these perverts that are, I
They're
guess...
like, oh, she's asleep.
I guess perverts in a movie theater, they do, when they see a woman in a movie theater... This is why it's very dangerous
they were
to
watching
meet a woman in
a
a lot of
porn
places.
also.
Right, so it's almost like they expect this. Because, I remember... This
is the scene that I was mentioning before when Thea said that this is what Glenn Danzig is actually like in real life.
What's strange is that in life, like, I don't mean to like go into some other tangent, but in life, like, when you see, because society is so sort of weird in how they view women sexually and how they should act, I guess, sexually. Because I remember I was at this
go on.
I was on St. Mark's in New York City, and I went to this famous place where they sell egg milkshakes or whatever the fuck it's called. It's a corner bodega, right? Corner store. And I walked in, and there's a pornographic magazine section, and this very attractive woman just like pulled it out and was like leafing through it. And I was sort of shocked. It was like I saw Bigfoot or something like that. Because you don't expect women to be doing that just because, how
you're like, ladies don't look at porn. No, but
that's
it's like...
for disgusting knuckle draggers like me.
Yeah.
But...
Like, it seems like it's not natural.
Right, so it's almost like if a man sees a woman doing something that's outrightly sexually, it's almost like they're inviting themselves. Like, it's almost like, oh, it's, you're open for business.
That's how society has been conditioned, yes.
Right, that's what I'm thinking. I'm not trying to get all so over political, but that's that's the only thing that explained to me that scene where the guys...
Who knew that he had these types of thoughts? I always assumed he was a misogynist pig.
No, I'm that too.
But now we know for sure.
No, he's both. He's got many levels. He's like an onion.
So, yeah, and I stink just as well. So anyway, so these guys try to molest and have sex, or they do, I know. It's weird because they're about to rape her.
They were about to go Joe Biden on her.
But then they... Okay.
Jesus.
But then they decide to respect her wishes. So this movie has a...
Well, they don't decide to do anything. She runs away.
Right, that's true.
She's like, no.
They don't pursue...
runs away.
They don't pursue her, and thus they are not... as horrible, I suppose.
It's true, but they're also like, come back.
Yeah, no, they're pretty bad.
So this film has a near rape prevent a fatal rape, which is something which is to behold.
A spider rape.
Yeah.
Or
it all evens out in the end.
I'm trying to think of a way to compact the word spidape.
Oh, boy.
Spape?
Spape.
Spapist?
A
So
spape.
she ends up
Yes, a spape.
she ends up at a cafe which has that fantastic scene with that waiter who says Zinnick Brick. That guy's the worst.
Yeah.
Okay, wait, but can we talk about that scene? Because it literally, she comes in.
Yes, that's what I
She
thought.
sits down at a table with a coffee cup already there. She's there for literally 5 seconds. He goes, "You should leave," and she goes, "Okay, bye."
Yeah, no, I thought the same thing. I thought
Yeah.
because you see her walk into like unless she was okay, say you see because you see a close up of her walking, and then it cuts to a cafe.
You guys really put a lot of thought into
see-
But
this.
she like walks in that shot.
See, I
Right,
watched
she-
this movie and my mind just rejected it, and I couldn't.
I thought
couldn't
maybe I thought maybe she had went to the bathroom and Glenn Danzig forgot to shot that scene. She walks into the cafe. She has her coat on. If you were, you could probably take your coat off and sit for a little bit. There's a coffee cup there with a flower, and then she sits down and she talks to the waiter and then she pays him for the coffee that was already there. And I was like,
Yeah.
Doesn't nobody see this? Who didn't stop Danzig? Like, who didn't go? Hey, Danzig, did you know you're fired?
He was probably his own editor too.
He probably also didn't care. He's like, nobody's gonna notice that.
Yeah.
So she decides to kill herself, which I thought was the only logical reason for this.
Makes sense.
That you don't understand how bad that cafe scene bothered me. I wasn't even going to bring it up, but I'm glad you did. So I'm like,
Oh, I
not
had
the only
to.
nut.
And then
So
the cops that investigated her death were like the worst actors in the movie.
What
And
I
they're like
understand, too, is
standing
that-
over her body. Oh god.
Let's say she also overdosed on all these pills, right? But she had wherewithal enough to leave 4 pills left over. Did she feel that taking all those pills, she was like, oh, that's enough?
Well, you
know?
can't know what she did if you don't see at least 1 or 2 on the counter.
But 4 pills is completely different.
She was being,
Seems
she
wasteful.
really wanted to drive home the point that I took a lot of them and there's still 4 left, and that's how many I took.
So the spider monster, I don't even know what happened. Did he take her? Because she was in one room.
No, I guess he died when she did that.
Yeah, but it's bad because then there was these French cops, right? And you
Yeah.
can tell because
Oh, they shoot him. They shoot him. Yeah.
yeah, but the comes to the room with their gun. If you see a guy that looks like that, I would just think, oh, it's a guy in a costume. I'd be like, he looks so
Yeah.
weird.
They don't even seem that scared or thinking he's in a costume. They just seem like he's a normal criminal.
I'd be like,
They're
what's
just like,
going on
hey.
here? Like they have enough like weird criminals like Spider-Man does, but in France and shit. So then they
Yeah.
come in, they bust into the room. It's so funny because you could tell they didn't want to break the first door because the way that the guy tries
They're
to
barely
ram-
hitting it. Yeah.
Then when it cuts to the other side, it goes full force because then they're like, okay, you can do this in one take. Because I think that was probably somebody's real door. And they break in, right? And then they start arguing with the spider monster. And the spider monster stands, right? You see him standing for a second, and then he lazily juts forward. And then they shoot him to death. And I was like, this is... If she died, wouldn't he just die? I mean, I guess he existed before she existed. You know what I mean? Before she.
Well,
turned
she
into
wasn't
that
all the
man.
way dead. Maybe I don't know. Why?
They call death the great sleep, so maybe that's what brought him into real existence, or some fucking stupid thing.
There's some kind of meaning here.
So bad, unbelievable how bad that was. What?
Let's move to the second.
What rating?
Yeah, we
would
gotta
you give-
go.
Wait a minute. What rating would you give that? These like.
Oh no, we gotta do one for the whole thing.
All right,
I'm not
all right.
doing this one.
We're
by
not
one.
doing the
This is
individual
crazy.
ones. They're all equally
I don't know. What do
as
you
bad.
think?
So anyway, it goes.
I give this a -1 out of 12. You're a fetish model whose entire career is made on your body, and somehow nobody knows you have eyes for boobs.
I would give this a -5 out of 23. Getting a fantastic blowjob, but eyeballs on the tits is just a little too much for me.
Yeah, it would
Thea?
be for me too.
I'll give it a -4 out of 10. Woman yelling "Kila, Kila" in a really bad French accent.
Okay.
And how disrespectful she falls down, so her titty's out with an eye on it, and the cops are like, "Hey, she a bristle."
And they just stand. They literally look at her so long.
And then it cuts to. I mean, I would probably be like, "What's going on here?" Cuts to Morella walking out of spider webbing. She has. How would you describe Morella's look? Listen, Morella's hot. Okay.
I mean, I would have sex with her.
You're a disgusting person.
Gothy
I can't
porno
agree with
witch.
what you're saying. That's Kaden Cross. So if you want to look up her works, So she walks out and then she says some sort of, I guess she's trying to be funny, and she walks out with eyeballs in her hands, and cuts to a close up of her the eyeballs in her hands, because I guess those are the eyeballs of the titties. Then it cuts to her in a wide.
The quality of that whole thing is better than the other movie.
But then it cuts back to the close up of her hands, which go out of frame and stay long for no reason. So they didn't have to show that. That leads us to our next tale, change of face. Danny, how does change of face begin?
Oh, God. This is the one with the stripper, Mysterio or something. That's kind of
a lady of mystery.
Mysterious lady.
She starts out
mystery
as
girl,
mystery.
whatever, yeah.
Whatever the fuck.
I don't know, man. Just
say what happens.
She's cutting someone's face off and yelling at him and stuff, and the lady's like, "Not my face," and she's like, "I'm going to take your face," and then she cuts.
So
the face off.
that's when I said the two actors that were horrible in this. We're like, this is full of bad acting. This had the strangest line reading I've ever. Like, this lady must be.
Could you
like,
imagine writing that dialogue and being I'm going to cut off your face, and then somebody saying, "Oh no, not my face."
I could only imagine that this lady knew what she was doing on purpose. Like, she must have done that on purpose, because it was like theatrical acting. And the woman, the slasher lady, I actually didn't think the slasher lady was a bad actor myself.
She wasn't terrible.
She looks like fucking Susanna Hoff from the Bangles. I don't know if you know who the Bangles are. Have you heard?
Yeah.
You know, walk like an Egyptian.
Well, I don't know if I know what they look like.
Yeah, if you just look up Susanna Hoff, she's smoking hot girl from the 80s. And there's like a video on YouTube of just her dancing in like leopard underwear in a mirror, and it's just like the hottest 80s chick ever. And this woman looks just like Susanna Hoff because she has this weird 80s hairstyle. Like something like, it looks like her hair like a fucking, like a hair teleported on her head from another fucking, from the 80s or something. She's there standing out in God knows where this fucking place is. It looks like it's in some sort of comic book universe where a woman's walking by herself. She's in a green dress, and she says, well, what does she say, Thea? What does this lady say to her? I know Danny just said it, but I gotta hear your recounting of this.
Oh, God. I don't even remember what she says.
Something about taking a face.
She says, I want your face. She goes, my face? Why would you want my face?
Yeah.
She's doing like, but it's like theatrical, like she's on a stage play acting.
My face?
Yes.
Why would you want my face?
Exactly, that's it.
Yeah.
That's exactly how it is. And I was like, this can't be for real. Like,
this was definitely this was maybe
real.
the worst one, actually.
Yeah, it is pretty bad. I mean, this is the first time I've seen boring strip teasing in a film.
Exactly.
Like,
okay,
exactly.
The third one does not have a story.
No, the
third one
at least
is actually kind of cool.
Third
one's like sort of cool.
The third, get the fuck out of here. The third story clearly the worst one, just in terms of storytelling.
Well, it's just Elizabeth. It's all day in the life.
I know.
Okay,
let's stay with change of face. The Susanna Hoff
There's
mystery girl lady.
It's just a lot of boring stripping.
So, which is surprising. I've never seen a movie with
the cop is ridiculous.
I like the cop. But anyway, the stripping in this movie, I can't believe you can make stripping look boring in a movie.
Yeah.
Like, even if it's just sort of background stuff, you're like, oh, they're in a strip room.
I was like checking my phone at points during the stripping.
Because the thing is, I knew I could walk out of the room and come back and they'd still be stripping. And I would never walk out of the room when they're stripping in a film. So anyway, she takes the lady's face off. The funny thing about this, there's a lot of funny things about this movie. But when she starts slashing somebody's face off, like, it literally, you ever see that meme of where somebody put a ham on a dog's face and they say, oh, my dog got burned in a fire, can you please put a like?
I think I actually have seen that.
It looks like that. Just look it up, it's pretty funny. This guy went on, like, Instagram posted, he cut eye holes for a ham on his dog's face, and then he said, oh, my dog suffered burns, can you give a like to, say you care? It's clearly a dog with ham on his face, and people believed it. And so anyway, that's what it looks like when she's cutting people's faces. And the thing is, there's like really delicate faceless graphics, like, I mean, special effects of the
Oh, there we go with the ham dog. It does look freaky, the ham dog.
But like, there's like like when the people have their face cut off and you see the tendons and everything. But the act of actually pulling the flesh off looks like tissue paper that they just pulled it off the person's face. Like, it's almost like your face like loses all of its fucking moisture and it just turns into some sort of spa mask or something.
It looks like a layer of latex. which is what it probably is.
There's some secondary blonde girl, you know, the one that helps out Mystery Girl to sell that they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who that is. She looks probably like some Latina porn star as well. Mystery Girl comes out and has the same stupid dance with her cape and cowl. She dances around. She has like skeleton faces on her tits and some weird sort of thing, which I thought was like a fake cock.
So like, what is? So she's got a scar on her face. So because of this, she needs to steal other people's faces and then strip.
I will say this, out of like how she looks, I did like the subtle sort of. It's supposed to be like she doesn't have a face, so she's always wearing somebody else's face. So she has these weird circles around her eyes, which I did like. But then when you really look at it, it looks like she's just painted on her face. Like there's no depth.
It is, yeah.
To like her wearing somebody else's face.
I thought it was supposed to be makeup.
And why would you wear somebody else's face if you're always covered up in a fucking mask? Like, what would be the point of it? I don't get it. So anyway,
apparently it was inspired by Eyes Without a Face, which is unsurprising. But
so anyway, they keep finding these bodies. Yeah, and listen, I'm just trying to. I know this is gonna be a long episode, but I just have to discuss it. It's just insane.
Mm-hmm.
So we're introduced to the bald cop, right? They find this dead body. I don't see a forensic person. I don't see tape anywhere. Well, I do. There probably is tape.
The cop was like the most absurd person in this whole movie.
The detective who's in like he's not even in a detective clothing. He's wearing fucking like a bouncer clothing. You know, like he looks like he's, you know, in the Matrix or something. And he's talking to a but like a regular cop, like a beat cop. And he's like, oh, so what's this about? And the cop is like, there's no evidence, there's no this. And I'm like, why don't you wait till fucking forensic comes in? It's like, a cop is not going to be like, you don't have a cop there. Like, a cop will note things. But how would he know
way too deeply. In this world of this idiot
people
Danzig,
just know.
In this idiot Danzig world, there's not forensics.
And I'm pretty sure, I wasn't sure if...
There's just like cartoon spiders and...
So we go to a Mystery Girl's lair, and she's in this room and looking in a mirror, and there's faces on the walls, and she talks us to the faces, and she's like, "There's gonna be somebody." This is where they did the zoom in and pull out, because they zoom in on her in the mirror, and then it just pulls out for long, and I'm like, "This is wild. This is a wild movie." She breaks into this lady. She breaks into this blonde lady's house, and the blonde lady was very shapely, very good for her, women's rights, and she's like.
I didn't earn that shape.
She was like, "Who's that? I didn't call for maintenance. You ever did that? You ever have somebody just walk into your house and say, "Oh, I didn't call for anybody"?" I'd be like, "What's going on here?" You know what I mean?
How did they get in anyway?
And it goes one of them. I don't understand. They don't have, you know. Thea works on sets before. You understand that there's a person that does continuity, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe that you're actually like even considering it in this movie. Like. From the moment you saw eye boobs with no explanation, your mind just shut down.
This has the worst continuity shot I've ever seen in a movie in the history of movies. That lady, when she goes to her house, she walks in front of her with the knife, and the very next shot, she's behind her with the knife to her throat. It's almost like she walked through the woman, through time.
She did.
And was behind her.
I did notice that, actually.
I couldn't believe this is happening. Like,
I can believe it.
Thea, how does this story resolve itself? I guess in a way.
She fucking gets chased by the cop. He shoots her, and then she runs away, and then she's fucking stripping somewhere else.
She's cutting his face from behind, and he shoots forward, but he happened to shoot her.
Look, I don't know the logistics of it. It's too insane to even try and map out.
That cop was horrible, but I loved his acting in this movie because he got a big old fucking line reading at the end. He said, "Wherever you are, wherever you be, I'll get you." And I was like, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. Yeah. And it's just,
oh god.
I mean, she gets away with it, and you can tell that she went to another strip club because the DJ was Asian in this one instead of being bald.
Do you think they'll ever catch her? I mean, she didn't really change her name that much.
She didn't change her uniform either. She's wearing the same skeleton titty mask.
Do you think she went to a different country? Is she in France now? Or do you think they'll tie it together with the spider lady?
I think what they did is that I think they used footage from her first dance, because the first dance she had the skeleton breast. Second dance, she had something else. And then the third dance, she had the skeleton breasts again. So I think they just repurposed footage. because while she's dancing, she's seeing those faceless women watching her, and I think they were trying to go for something deep, like an eternal torture.
Right.
Actually, that was the second dance, so they just reused the same fucking thing. This sucks.
Do you think they were really there, or do you think she imagines they were there?
I think she imagined it.
Okay.
She looks like Melina from Mortal Kombat when she's dancing at the end. That's it. So she was wearing the same two dresses in the first one, then she changes it to Melina at the end.
What do you think of her dance? Did it turn you on?
She did this sort of weird.
She's lazy dancer.
Magician dance. Not a for a movie with so many naked breasts. Not a boner to be had in this movie.
Yeah, it would be cool if Mysterio from Spider-Man came out instead.
There you go.
It's the second time you mentioned Mysterio for some reason.
I thought that was her name at first.
I very much
it wasn't
doubt.
A joke.
I very much doubt not a bean to be flicked to this movie as well. So this leads to the next story. It leads to another interstitial with.
See, the next one,
we gotta go back to Morella. She throws a mask on a girl's face back on her head, and that's it. And then it goes back.
That's it.
It goes to the final story, which is what, Thea?
I thought we were gonna rate the middle one.
Oh, are we? Should we?
I just give it a.
We should, yeah.
I give it a 0 out of 12. 0.1 out of 12. Mysterio makes a really boring striptease that I literally was just falling asleep to. It was just like, how is it possible?
Give it a -1 out of 32. Being a cop who gets his face slashed and yells instead of chasing the culprits. Thea?
I'm going to give it a 2 out of 400, me yelling while watching it. Oh no, she left her titty business card.
Yeah, that's an astonishing one. I don't know how she left her card at somebody like... That's almost
Why
like...
does she have a card?
I don't know. Maybe she thought about it. Maybe.
How do they know that she was the killer?
With her name on it.
Somebody else could have had the card. I mean,
But I think it had her. I think it had her like stripper name on it.
Right.
This is confounding. I told Danny he would be astonished by this, but I couldn't believe it. It's very bad.
Now the third movie, this is where we're going to disagree. I'm not saying it's good. It's terrible. It's terrible. But
Drujika,
I think that the
Princess
acting
of
is
Blood.
better. I think the acting is better, and I think the vibe, the whole feeling, is actually like kind of almost cool.
Okay, here's the thing. This is like, you know what they did if they said, hey, here's a couple of bucks. I want you to make an album based on an album cover of a death metal band. There you go. That's your album. That's your movie. It's essentially just sequences.
It's just Elizabeth
of fucking
Bathory.
album covers. And Drujika,
but it's not even like the coolest Elizabeth Bathory. It's like the most boring.
Yeah, no.
Just call it Elizabeth Bathory.
It is. It is. But the acting is actually kind of good, and that lady kind of sells it a little bit, even though everything else is terrible. I'm not saying it's good. Like, trust me, it's not good.
This lady looks like a weird version of Charlize Theron meets who's the lady from Glow? You know the main actress with the brunette hair?
Alison Brie?
Alison Brie, and then there's another lady that's like online that is like an online personality. You guys talk about Drujika for a little bit because it's going to drive me nuts. Go ahead.
Thea,
talk about the first.
Go ahead.
No, Thea, you talk. You've been talking less. Talk.
I don't even remember what she does right off the hop. I just know that she goes to town and she's like, "Hey, I'm going to buy your daughter because she's a virgin, probably."
Okay,
and then
Jessica,
leaves, and then she fucking bathes in their blood and shit.
Drujika,
the whole thing.
That's pretty much the
Drujika
whole
looks
plot.
like Drujika.
There's no plot.
The actress who plays Drujika looks like Alison Brie, Charlize Theron, and a mixture of Jessica Chobot. If you know who that looks like, Jessica Chobot looks like Alison Brie. Anyway, very important that I said that. So I was like, huh? You know that shot when she walks out on the horse and you see the whole background with the castle and everything, and the people. I was like, what? I was like, what happened here? Somebody was on their game.
Jessica Chobot.
Jessica Chobot, Chobot.
What kind of
She
name
got
is
famous
that?
for licking.
I am Jessica
PlayStation.
Chobot.
she licked a PSP and she got famous, and she's actually pretty entertaining.
Is that really why she got famous?
Because it's a very suggestive photo, and then she got famous.
Okay.
But she's actually an entertaining person. She's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so she's killing virgins, taking their blood. Long takes of her putting blood on her face. The blood has a weird consistency in this film.
Yeah, it's like water. It's like pink water.
There's a part, after she kills that young girl, that she buys, she vamps in the mirror for clearly like a full minute, and I was like, why did they just cut? I was looking at it. I was looking at the time because it was like from
this whole movie. All three of these movies could have been summed up in 15 minutes.
Like,
there's no reason why it had to be an hour and a half.
Elizabeth Bathory story in real life is pretty interesting. Where this woman wanted to be young, so she got versions, and then her brother found out what happened, and he was like, "What the fuck?" So he locked her up in a castle, and that's how she died.
That is not what happened.
That's not what happens here. You know what happens? She talks to a fucking wolf, and that's how it ends.
But I don't know. The
wolf doesn't do anything.
It's kind of
she tells the wolf to bring her somebody.
I don't know why. This one kind of was not that bad to me. Like, it was like kind of cool.
Hard, weren't you?
Danny was breaking glasses with his dick.
No. I just thought that they kind of got the vibe of a crazy medieval lady going good.
Don't lie to me, Danny.
I swear.
This shit was whack, bro. Because then she has this big fucking weird skeleton demon horse monster statue in her room, and she's walking. She gets into the bathtub butt naked and to bathe with this girl, and the blood consistency doesn't make any fucking sense. And this poor girl who's dead, but her head is stayed at an angle where a dead body would probably droop forward. And she just that's what it is. Just I can tell you, it's like 4 long sequences of her just putting blood on her, and there's nothing going on. They cut this girl's throat, and it's almost like Japanese level of blood spurting. Keeps shooting out. She cuts this girl's throat who's upside down.
Then at one point she cuts someone's stomach open and no blood comes out?
Yeah, that was the last girl.
That was weird. Why wouldn't blood come out?
It was nice to see that it was like in the 1200s or something. Like, people had breast augmentation back then. That's really interesting because there were big fake titties in this.
That was the ancient Romanian porn stars.
I felt bad because I knew that like one actress that was upside down, that I thought she did good screaming and stuff like that. She bleeds on her, and then you can tell the blood was going up her nose, because then she actually comes back to life and starts choking again. And I was like, I felt bad because I know that this movie was so fucking.
That might have been planned. Who knows? Maybe Danzig is a genius.
Like, this movie was so... I know, where the blood started spurting out again at that scene, but this is so incompetently made that I was like, they probably could have almost killed this girl with, like, blood rushing to her head, because, there was no competent person doing this fucking movie. Did the
in-between lady call us Darkleys or something like that? Like,
that's racist.
No, what was the word she used?
Darklings or something?
Yeah, something like that. Instead of darlings, like darklings.
There's only one really beautiful looking... that shot where she has the lady, cradled in her arms, and the other girl's giving her the knife to kill her. That actually looks like a scene out of a competently made movie, but I don't understand what the fuck happened.
See? You love this movie, too.
She pulls the girl's heart, and she's still alive. And then
I guess, I don't know.
And the last girl's being chased by 2 weirdos, and I was like, oh, I thought this was going to be like another rape scene. I was like, I got to apologize to Thea again. But then they just decapitate her. And I will say, the death dealer, the guy with the SM, well, not the S&M suit, but the death guy.
Yeah, kind of is.
That guy looked pretty cool. Because he looked like a typical sort of fat, executioner. So they're just out in the field. I mean, I don't get, like... These are supposed to be religious people? Were they religious back then? They had to be, right?
Yeah, but I don't think she's religious.
And when they chop off that girl's head, the redhead is like really happy about it. And then the girl's eyeball falls out of her face.
Yeah, would that happen?
Well, I don't know.
Would it happen? I don't know.
And like, that first weird digital shot where she's walking into the room and there's all these clearly digital like women hanging from the rafters and shit. Like, I was like, oh, alright, that's interesting looking, but it still looks pretty bad. Then she sits in her throne with the girl's head in her hand, and that's it.
So is this your favorite one, though?
What?
Of the three?
they're equally horrible. They're all equally bad films. Like, I don't get it. And then it ends with Morella sitting in the throne with the skeleton monster. And that's how it ends.
Yeah.
And then she's playing with the blood. And
so this is the best one then.
This is horrible. This is a bad movie. And I understand it's for us to laugh at it. But this is, I'm sorry.
What would you rate this one?
To you guys. This one is. You can go first, Thea.
Let's give it 0 out of another 200.
Okay.
Making out with what is supposed to be a still beating heart, but looks like a big ball of tape or something.
Okay.
I'll give this a -4 out of 56. Walking into the room with your many prosthetic and real heads on the wall, which was, I guess, $12 out of the budget. Danny, what rating would you give this last Drujika one?
I'm gonna give this a 2 out of 10. You know, it's a really impressive movie. 2 out of 10. Having a conversation with wolves.
He actually gave it an actual number with
drinking clear pink liquid squirting out of someone's neck. Cutting someone's stomach and no blood comes out. That's it. That's my rating.
The technical aspects in this film are a sight to see. It's
you have to see it.
I mean, the
soundtrack is kind of cool.
Soundtrack's not bad. I was just about to say that.
What's our overall rating? What's the overall rating?
Edited by Brian Cox. So
we don't have to do like a thing. Just maybe a number.
All right. No, we should. That's something we got to keep tradition. Thea, what rating would you give this film?
Overall.
1 out of 10 useless wraparounds.
Okay.
I would give this a -12 out of 857. Making one of the most clearly incompetent films I've ever seen, but doing it for your friends because clearly you hate these people and they're not really your friends. This is horrible. It sucks.
I'm gonna give it a 0.5 out of 10. Keeping things realistic and having everyone in Paris speak English with bad French accents.
So, any final thoughts on VEROTIKA 2019?
Let's not watch more movies like this.
So with that, Thea, what's the final word?
Pocket.
Danny, what's the final word?
April.